Matt again here with my favorite albums of 1980 part 2 video of what's probably going to be like 3 or 4 parts altogether. Uh, Tom Waits had an album out in 1980 and I forgot to list that on my also ran list when I listed those 20, 30 albums that didn't make my list to kind of illustrate how great of a year, even better than I realized 1980 was. And that was just a partial list. There's quite a few others that didn't make my list that I could have read. But anyway, enough of that. First part of the video explains why I chose 1980 and how I went about doing that and making my choices. Let's get to the list, shall we? It says top 25. Probably going to do the I'm going to go from 25 up to 1. Probably going to do the first 5 records on this video, and then the next one I'll do the next 10, and then the final one I'll do the final 10. I don't know if anyone's going to watch that much, but all the way through all that. But like I said, I'm enjoying having fun doing this, so hope y'all are having fun watching it. Number 25. This band, this band, in my opinion, should have broken up when Brian Jones walked out the door, because they never did anything half as good again, in my humble opinion. Others will disagree, and that's their right to do so. But 1978, they released Some Girls, which is my favorite album of theirs outside of their 60s work. A buddy of mine's a huge Rolling Stone fan growing up. I was a huge Beatles fan, and we had the whole Beatles or Stones argument all the time, even though we liked both bands. We loved Some Girls, summer of 78. It was, summer right after 8th grade for me, after 7th for him. So when the next Rolling Stone album was coming out, and it turned out to be in 1980, we were looking forward to it, ran to the record store and bought it with bated breath, expecting Some Girls Part 2. Number 25 choice is, of course, Emotional Rescue by the Rolling Stones. Got to the record store, got home, played the album, and we thought, because it is sort of kind of Some Girls Part 2. I think that's what the Rolling Stones were hoping it was going to be too, but it's a little bit like a photocopy of an original picture. It's not as good as Some Girls, and it's not as good as Tattoo You, the album that follows this. Of course, after Tattoo You, the band becomes just an oldies Vegas act, touring band that of no account one way or the other, in my opinion. Again, I think Tattoo You was the last time that the Rolling Stones mattered in any significant way as far as a going concern of a band. But so this one I don't think is as good as Some Girls Tattoo You, and we were kind of flummoxed when we first heard this album. Of course, it was all over the radio in 1980. It was a big hit. It's not an album that I play much through the years. I played it a whole lot back in '80, when it came out. In the years since, I haven't played it very often. In fact, I don't know, when I got this list together, started making the list and ranking the albums, I pulled this out and played it. I probably hadn't played it in 10, 20, maybe 20 years. Sounds like I hate this album. I don't. It's a pretty good album. It's kind of like the run of the litter type thing. It's much better than their seven. Sticky Fingers is a great album. I like it all right. I don't like as much their 60s albums. Um, um, Exile on Main Street, great album, I'll admit. I never liked it. There, I said it. The rest of their 70s albums, with the exception of Some Girls, are rubbish. Okay, they're better than the stuff they did in the rest of the 80s and the 90s and the whatever Big Bang Theory album that came out in 2005, but not by much. They're rubbish. This one's better than that stuff. I'm not going to say this is better than Sticky Fingers and Exile, even though I don't like Exile, but I kind of got a soft spot for it. It tries to be Some Girls. It doesn't quite make it. It still has its moments. Emotional Rescue is like I said, a photocopy of a photocopy, a second-rate Miss You, which probably might be the Rolling Stones' last truly great song, in my opinion. Again, might be Waiting on a Friend from Tattoo You, but I think probably Miss You is their last truly great song. Emotional Rescue is the little sister of the poor two Miss You. But it's fun. It goes on about a minute too long. I like it. I have fond memories of a girl I had a crush on back in those days. Her and some of her friends singing it when it was brand new. What else is on here? Dance. It's okay. It tries to be funky and dancey. It's not quite as fluid and sinewy as, say, uh, Sympathy for the Devil. Of course, they're old men by this time. We're getting up there, younger than I am now back then, but it's still pretty good. Summer Romance, good. Send It to Me, I like a lot. Let Me Go might be my favorite on the album. Indian Girl, Stupid. Where the Boys Go, Down in the Hole's okay. Emotional Rescue, I kind of like. She's So Cold, big hit. It's all right. It's not great. All About You, fun album, I guess. It's just way far from their best, but I guess that's why it comes in at number 25. And some of those that I listed that didn't make my final list are probably better than this album, in all honesty. But I actually like it, even though it sounds like I just ripped it apart. Number 24, we go to, not that, we go to, there's two albums here that I don't have on vinyl, I only have on CD, and number 24 is one of them. Number 24, the glare on that, I don't know if you're going to see that, Baby Lestrange by Heart. A weird, funny thing with Heart, I like them, but they're one of those bands that I never had the desire or thought of buying their records. When they came out, the first album was, what, 76 or so, and their first, however many albums they had in the 70s, 3 or 4, huge hits all over the radio. We all remember Barracuda, Magic Man, Dog and Butterfly, all that stuff. They were fine on the radio. I liked them. Seemed like good people, nice enough band. Didn't really like, well, I mean, I guess I kind of like them on the radio, like I said, but I didn't have much interest in them past that. This album comes out, and for some reason it just caught me right, and I went out and bought it. I used to have it on vinyl. Love the title song, Baby Lestrange. Down on Me is a good one. Rockin' Heaven Down is a great one. Where's the other one? That Even It Up, of course, which has the Tower of Power guys on there with horns backing them up, is a great song. The rest of the album is good to little filler on a couple of the tracks, but the rest of them are pretty good. It's just funny. I mean, I went and saw them in concert when they toured this album. A buddy of mine and me did, and loved this album. And after this, in the 80s, they kind of went out of favor, but then they came back with hits. But their hits after this were sort of Soccer Mom, I don't know, soft rock, power ballad stuff, which didn't interest me whatsoever. I like their early 70s stuff, but this is the only album of theirs I ever bought. And even though Barracuda, Magic Man, good songs and all, I have no desire to go out and buy them. But this album, good one. And it's funny because everything, they had been huge from their first album, all their albums in the 70s, all over the radio, popular touring band, very famous and big. And this album came out and it did well on the charts and got some radio play when it came out, probably on the momentum of their earlier albums, but seems to have kind of been forgotten since then. I don't really listen to regular radio anymore, but on the rare times when I hear classic rock stations, when I'm with somebody else in the car or whatever, you know, they'll play Heart quite a bit. You'll hear Magic Man, whatever. But you rarely, or I haven't heard any of these songs on the radio since probably 1980. Funny band because I love this album. And overall, I think they're a good band. Like them, just don't have any interest in any of their other stuff. As far as, you know, other than just hearing it on the radio is okay. So there's Heart, and that's a funny one. 23 is Split Enz, True Colors. What are they, New Zealand or Australia? I don't know, I don't remember. Power pop band. This became, Tim and Neil Finn went on to form Crowded House, which had a lot of popularity later in the 80s. This has the song I Got You, which got some radio play. Y'all have probably heard that. The rest of this, if you like that power pop sound that came out around 78, 79, things like the Knack and the Yachts and all that, kind of a new wavy pop, power pop, that's just the thing for you. There's some great songs on that album, and it's just as catchy as can be. Um, so yeah, check that out. That's a good one. That is number 23, and we turn the page to find out what number 22 is. This is another fun band. Uh, can't help but laugh and have some fun with these guys. And B-52's Wild Planet, their second album. Of course, their first album was the one with the yellow cover. I can't remember the name of it, but it's one that had Rock Lobster on it. This one has the hits, of course, Private Idaho, Quiche Lorraine, Strobe Light got a little radio play. Party Out of Bounds, 53 Miles West of Venus is good. Just kind of a fun, this is great. I'm sure this got played at a lot of parties in 1980. And upbeat, fun. The thing about the B-52s, they're wonderful and great. Little of them can kind of go a long way. So I play that album every once in a while, and I like it a lot. But it's one of those that, you know, you put it on, and after a couple of songs, sometimes I take it off because, like I said, a little of that could go a long way. But it's a great, wonderful thing. I had mentioned Eat to the Beat, which I could have sworn came out in 1980, actually came out in 1979. Stand corrected. But in fact, it didn't. But this did. This is Auto-American, Blondie's second to last album, sort of. They had an album in '82 called The Hunter, and they broke up, and then they got back together in '97, and since then they've released, I don't know, 3 or 4 albums from '97 to now. They just had an album out in 2014 I saw. I was looking up. I haven't heard any of those albums since they got back together, except the song Denise here on the radio every once in a while. It was pretty good. Yeah, I love the first, was it 4 or 5 Blondie albums? Plastic Letters, Parallel Lines, Eat to the Beat, all of that has the classic Blondie sound. Of course, Debbie Harry was not uneasy on the eyes. That doesn't ever hurt. This one was a bit of a strange one. The hits, of course, are The Tide is High and Rapture, which was an early sort of rap song. Wasn't crazy about it at first, but I learned to kind of like it. Love the guitar at the end. Tide is High it's okay. But it's a strange album because they move away from the Blondie sound and they try to do a whole lot of everything. There's sort of an old show tune sounding thing, an instrumental, mainly instrumental song that opens the album. They just kind of everything in the kitchen sink, throw in a bunch of different musical styles. It's interesting, if not always successful, but overall it's a pretty good album. Again, I think Eat to the Beat, Parallel Lines, those are better than this. The Hunter that came out in 1982, I was looking at that and I saw the cover online, and I remember vaguely seeing that in record stores back in the day. I can't remember a single song off of that. It said it got to number 9 in England and number 30 in the United States. I probably got some radio play, but I was looking at the song list and can't remember anything. Of course, this one had some huge hits, and Call Me was the big 45 that's not on this album, but that came out right before this album came out. So it's an interesting Blondie album that's some experiments work, some don't. They were kind of getting towards the end of their run here. But yeah, that is number 21. So I'm going to end right there, and I'm going to come back with the next 10, and we will see you in a minute.